Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. I hope you guys are having a nice weekend and getting ready for another busy week that we have coming. So we have quite a bit to cover, and we'll go over what I'm watching, what earnings I'm watching, and what stocks, what I'm looking at, especially for the market for SPY and SPX, what's happening there. So we'll get right into it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe this video. If you are enjoying it, please do share. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them below in the comment section. All right, let's see what we have coming up for this next week. All right, so we actually had a pretty interesting week as well. We had the ADP numbers, the jobless claims number, and the FOMC meeting that happened this week. So quite a bit of volatility you saw in the market. So for this coming week, we have the most important day is going to be Thursday, is when we have the CPI month over month and year over year, and the core CPI numbers coming up as well. The interesting thing is, I personally think the numbers are a little bit low, what they are projecting at, 0.6, 0.5, and 7.9%, where I think the Cleveland Feds, their estimate is somewhere between 8.6%. So I think they are a little bit more in line with it than what we're projecting right here. So that's what we're going to be definitely watching, how that's going to impact the market on Thursday. And then the other thing that is happening is we have a day before, we have the 3-year and the 10-year note. The auction is happening, and then also 30-year. However, the 30-year auction is after the CPI reports, but we want to see how the 3-year and the 10-year do. So if there isn't enough demand as expected, you could see the yields move up. If there is more demand than expected, yields could move down, and then you'll probably see when the auction is happening. That's a good place. Then you want to go to the federal government website to see how the auction is doing. And if the 10-year or the 3-year doesn't do well, market will start to sell off. That's going to be your signal around Eastern time, 1:30, and you'll see the yields start to go up. And that's the way to see how the auction is going. And you can, there are a couple of websites, especially the federal government's website, that you can get more detail on it and know when these auctions do happen as well. And then for earnings, I'm watching Disney and Oxy. Those are the two I'm paying more close attention to. And the third one is the Unity. That's another one that I follow the company pretty closely. I do like their company model. So I'm definitely paying attention to Unity, Disney, and Oxy. Those are the three ones that I'm going to be for sure watching a little bit more closely. There are other interesting ones are coming up. You got the Lyft, you got the Upstart, you got Neo, Ribbon. This one, I don't know how they're going to survive. What are they going to project for their Q4, or what do they have to report? Vane is another one. So those are the ones that you can definitely pay attention to it. But the big companies, I think those are completely done. So we're still just going through this leftover of the earnings. All right, so as you're watching the market, especially for the core CPI numbers coming out, right? This is another company or a ticker that you can watch to see how they're saying that it should be around 0.6% or 0.5%. This is the food inflation, where you can watch this, ADM to see if this is in an uprise. That if food inflation is going up, so that definitely will directly impact the core, the CPI numbers. So right now we are in pretty much in an uptrend on this, and you can see if we were to cross $98 or $99, this is gonna be that means that food inflation is pretty through the roof. So that's why I think Cleveland's CPI numbers are a little bit more in line with than what we are seeing, the projected CPI numbers that are going to be coming out. So definitely watch another indicator for the market when you're looking at some of these numbers coming out as well. All right, so let's look at what we have coming up. SPY. Let's go down to the daily chart here. And you can see we did, RSI came below the 50, but we recovered it pretty quickly. Right now, we are sitting in a demand. This is following the path that I drew a few videos ago, I think 2 videos ago or some. So far, we've rejected in the supply zone. This was the hardest area for it to cross, to break above 390. So if we are seeing the market move above, for us to say that we are going to cross above here, we need to look for it to break and hold above 392. And then we have the 400, 407, 413 kind of on the play for it, right? We can see those things could hit. Or we could even see the 200 being played out, which is around 408.40. This is the 200 moving average if we could reject it there. However, if we do start to break below, the number that you want to look for is the 362, 360. Then you have this demand coming up as well. I would say 340, 350 is still on the table. So that's what you want to watch on SPY. Let's look at SPX as well. So far, as you know, I've said this is my favorite channel. Once we actually have in this bigger channel, within the channel, we got this small channel as happening as well. So again, 3,900 on the SPX is what you want to watch and see how we break above it. Daily candle isn't really telling you it's a doji which way we're going to go. So we'll find out what happens on Monday. Are we going to move higher, or when the auctions happen? If the auctions doesn't do well, we will see the market sell off. So around, in the afternoon, you can start paying attention to it, what the market is starting to do. We still have these gaps to the downside that needs to be filled as well on SPX. So something to watch. All right. So let's look at US 500. So these are the charts that I follow, especially for when I'm trading SPX. These are the ones that I'm looking for to get my levels from it. So right now, again, this one, I would say I'm slightly off, but it did pull back and we are looking down to the 34.12, 34.08 area. Is it going to happen right away? I'm not saying that it's going to happen overnight. So we could come back and test this 50% of the fib level, which is again 3,900. So I want to see how we are recapturing these levels, the 370, 37.97 or 38.20 area. If we are moving higher, then we are definitely looking back to retest the 3,900. However, if we start to break below, these are the levels we got at the bottom that needs to be tested, or it's going to come down to these levels as well. So that's what we are watching. And then the couple other indicators, as I said, VIX is no longer the one thing that you can watch and say this is what's happening, because we've been seeing a lot of different things in the market that are impacting. So as I talked about a couple of the other videos, the TLT forming this bear flag, and it needed to move higher, which we did, and now we are breaking below it. So now we have a support. If market is pulling back, TLT will, these 20-year bonds will start to pull back, and then you got the 92 is your support area. And this really is, it can be very simple if you just pay attention to a few things. And you can see this RSI was oversold, and we had that pull up, and look at it, it gave RSI a room to move back lower as well. So pay attention to all of these things. If this is breaking below, you'll see the TNX breaking above. So as we drew these things last week, and this is again a bull flag, so they run the opposite. If market is moving down, you will see the TLT coming down and TNX running up. If TNX is dropping, you'll see the market going up as well. So you'll see this one still hasn't, touched my expected move is up to 5.34 area. This is what I'm watching, and I want to see how it can recapture this trend line and get above it. Again, if you look at the RSI, it's gave a little bit more room to move higher and go back into the overbought territory. So let's look at VIX as well. Again, I think VIX has a little bit more room to the downside since we have broken out of this channel right here. I am looking at some sort of a bounce at the 23.47. So if you do look at your VIX as well, you are coming up to a pretty, oversold, into the sold area as well. So definitely something to watch. I would say 23.47. But if we do continue to break below and market is moving higher, we do have this gap, tiny bit gap that needs to be filled right here on VIX. So you can see between 21.11 to 21.73. So that's the gap that it needs to fill. And that's what we have on VIX. And dollar pulled back quite a bit as well. So look at that bearish engulfing candle on dollar on the daily. Again, if we break out below the 110, this 110.77 area, you got your next support to be in 109.20, and then the next is 107.8. However, if we recapture and get above 111, I think this is gonna fuel up very strong, and come CPI, we could see some real fireworks, what's gonna happen there as well. So something to watch. All right, so I'm going to give you guys few tickers to keep on the list for this coming week that I think are setting up very nicely, and a couple of requests from the team, and I'll go over those ones along with the dot blueprints and everything. All right, so the one that we want to see is, as I said last week, was Dollar Tree that I am in a put. So we'll look at it. This was my gains on Dollar Tree, about 30%. As you can see, rejected right at the gap. I was in the play from Friday, October 28th. Monday, it was kind of like an inside day, very small candles. We didn't really break above Friday's high. And then on Tuesday, we had a pullback. And then Wednesday was the, the perfect pullback. Wednesday was the perfect pullback that we got, and I was able to come out with about 30% gains on this one. What I'm watching is for my re-entry is going to be how we react to the gap. If we get a nice rejection, I'll probably retake the puts and write them back down to the 153 area as well. So that's what I have on Dollar Tree. The other one that we've been charting and watching a few times is NVIDIA. As you can see, this thing moved beautifully. This falling wedge breakout was very nice. We are sitting at this very strong resistance, the 140, 142 area. So if we don't break and we don't fill this gap, as you can see, there's a gap between the 149 and 148, 145.46. So it's about $4 gap. And, sometimes gaps can act as a resistance and support. So you can watch to see how market does and how we reject in these areas. If we are having hard time, this thing is going to have, again, a very nice put to ride back down into the demand. This will become a used. You want to still keep these levels. They still act pretty strong, and then has a room to go back higher as well. Okay. The other one that we watched is Costco. Just going over some of the stuff that we have been keeping an eye on it for a while. So this was, again, I don't know if anybody played it or had it on their sheet to watch. This was a perfect rejection at the 50 fib level as well, and it's coming back down. It looks like if we go to the weekly chart right here, you got a beautiful back test of the channel, of the diamond as well. So I am definitely watching this one for a long-term play. I want to see if we can have a pullback into the 450, 452 area. I would try to see what kind of setup or what kind of resistance and supports we are breaking, and then I'll take the play on this one as well. All right. So there was few requests. So let's look at Snap first. Okay, so what a beautiful move right out of the weekly demand zone. This is the earnings brought it down. We actually filled the gap on this thing. There is a tiny bit of a gap left on it from a different time frame. So these are the support and resistance I'm watching. So I would love for it to have a little bit more pullback into the 867 and then bounce, and we could see this thing head back to 11 12 $11. That's where the resistance is, and after that it has a very nice supply zone coming up as well. RSI definitely has a room for it to move higher. However, if we start to break below $7, 7.43, this thing is coming down to $4.63. All right, so let's look at the some of what the dark pool print looks like. So dark pool print is at 958. So that's what you want to watch. If Snap is struggling to get above 958, you can bet that it is coming down to, that $7 area as well. And if we look at it, we do have a pretty nice put area in the $10, and then you also have a nice OI on the call side as well too. So if it is, I would say my take on this would be I would wait to see how we cross above $9.58 to get into a call, or I would wait to see how we bounce from any of these levels before I get and jump into a trade. So those are the two things I would definitely watch. So 958, you got 102 million in a dark pool print. So that's something that you definitely want to pay attention. I know we didn't go over, we already went over the SPY chart, but let's look at the SPY dark pool prints as well. Again, we're sitting at 376 right now. So not much of prints right here, but this 389 level, 0.95 is a pretty strong. You get 10.6 billion sitting right there. And then 412 has that 11.8 billion. If we are starting to, I always like to give myself plus or minus $2 from the level. So if I'm watching 389 has a 10 billion, I would say you want to watch is the 391 to 392 level. If it is breaking above, then you got more room to the upside. If it is not, that's the area that it's rejecting. It's probably going to come back down as well. And the call to put, as you can see, open interest is pretty interesting. You got more open interest on the put side than you have on the call side, but still on the call side, you got a decent amount of open interest at the $400 strike price. And we looked at NVIDIA as well. So if we look at NVIDIA right here, current price is at $141. And if we look at our next big dark pool print is 150.65. So let me just pull up NVIDIA quickly. So 150, and that would help you fill this gap as well. So if it rejects at that print, you can bet that it is going to come down and you got more room to the downside on this one. However, if it is breaking above any of these two levels between 150 and 152, your next strong where you got the dark pool prints are in the 170 and 187 level. However, if any of those rejects and we are below this print, 140.85, you are looking at your next biggest print is at 133. So those are the things that you want to use. We use them as a support and resistance. All right. So the ones that I do want to give you guys is that I'm going to watch is GS. This is Goldman Sachs. We're about a few cents away from supply. This reject is going to be beautiful. You got your RSI being very overbought as well. We are making kind of a double top as well. So definitely watch how we reject here. And it has a nice demand area down in this zone as well. So first thing first, I want to watch and see how we react Monday and Tuesday. I usually try to look for if I'm going heavy into any of my trades. I like to wait and see what mark what the stock is doing. At least by midweek Wednesday is when I'm gonna decide which way I want to enter, or do I still want to wait. So I want to see how it reacts to supply. If we do reject right here, we're definitely coming back down. This is a double top as well, so I would definitely watch how we react into this supply zone. If it rejects, this put is going to be beautiful. And of course, I pulled up your dark pool prints and your open interest. So our dark pool print is currently above the current price, which is 358.14. You have a very small print at 357 and 349 right here. So at any point, GS breaks below any of these levels, 357.91, your next good spot where majority of, I would say, the buying happened because it moved very nicely is 324.12. So this would be the spot, would be my final take profit on it if we are pulling back on it. So that's definitely something that I want to watch. Right now, open interest is pretty mixed on the call and the put side. So, but what I want to watch is how we react to this supply zone. So that's the one that I'm giving. And then there was the other one I am watching is Crocs. I don't know if I put this. Let's look at the chart first. So for chart right now, Crocs, it is looking pretty strong. Definitely has a little bit more room to the higher side of it. Look at these bullish candles that we made. For some reason my chart didn't come up on this one on this side. So let's just start from the monthly, and we can. What a beautiful break above from the previous resistance area as well. Just with my naked eyes, I can look at and say this is a perfect breakout. We consolidated in the resistance zone and then we are breaking out. And remember, I am looking at the monthly chart. Your monthly RSI has quite a bit of a room to go as well. And I think this is beautiful. We do have a nice supply zone coming up as well. So that gives your ticker a little bit more room. I would say almost $10 to $20 move is still left on this thing. Again, look at the weekly candle. What a beautiful candle. We are above the 200 moving average. Nice capture from here, moving above very, very nicely. And then this is your daily chart is also above the 200. And what I want to watch is I want to see if we can break above any of these levels above here, 85.48, I'll give myself a little bit more room, maybe in the $86 area, and then see how we move up to. This is the area that I would love for it to reach, and definitely looks, I would say this is the one chart that I found was pretty bullish. So look at the Crocs, and your price is at 85.40. Your next dark pool big print is 101.39, and you got 35 millions on it. So I would definitely watch. We are already above the $79, and the next is 93 and 94. So this is looking really good. If it does have a small inside candle, some sort of a consolidation, and stays above this 75.83, the previous resistance when we last sold off, is where you want to see. If it holds above here, then you definitely, it has a room to go higher. So this one, I have a couple alerts on it. I will definitely be watching this one. And then let's look at Tesla. All right, so Tesla is, again, this I drew a couple weeks ago. Definitely watching to see for this to come down to the 183. I think it has more room to the downside. These are some of the bearish setup as a candle pattern itself even. So if you are seeing a move, let it break above 211, then you got about $10 move into it at 222 area. Still has a room that it can come and test this supply as well. However, if it is breaking below 204, 202, 200, any of those three levels I just said, you got the room to the downside of it. So that's what I am watching on Tesla. Let's just make sure we went over all of the, oh, this was the Dollar Tree, that blueprints as well. All right, so that's what we have on Tesla. And then let's look at Apple quickly before we end the call. All right, so for Apple, as you can see, what a beautiful rejection at the 200 moving average and a rejection from your supply zone and our resistance. And what a perfect candle setup. So this is called the evening doji star. This is a bearish pattern, and what a rejection. We now have a nice gap from here to above here that needs to be filled. Still a little bit below, on my chart, I have a little bit more room for it to come down, which is the 132.97. And then there was a crazy options prints that were happening on the put side of it. So if we are breaking 132.97, room down to 119. But if we are breaking up, like if it's bouncing and holding, then you got a gap that needs to be filled on the upside of it. So that's what we have on Apple. Let's see, a few things I'll just quickly go over that we watched last week. Let's see how those played out. Airbnb, look at that break below and how it's bouncing from the demand area. That's nice. I would love for it to consolidate a little bit more and then have a pull. Then look for an entry on the upside if the rest of the market is moving as well. Just going to show Amazon as well. Here we go. The chart is loading. It has a little bit more room. I do have, some crazy projections that I think it can pull back to, which is 68, 51.68 as well. Any move up and it rejects in the 100 or the 97 area, I would say Amazon has more room to the downside than to the upside. Any move up or a consolidation will reset the RSI and give it a room to come down as well. The other one that we did watch a few weeks ago was on a few weeks video was Google. Again, broke below slightly. I like to call these things as stop loss hunting, where people get stopped out and it is trying to bounce here. If we break above 87, 88, that will again reset the RSI, gives the room to consolidate. And this is my projection on Google. I'm looking somewhere in the 79 area as well, which is what this market, if the things that I think how they're going to come, we're going to see some lows that we have not seen. We are going to be, this is once in a lifetime opportunity to buy some of these really good companies. So definitely watch this. And then the other one that we did look at was Macy's. Beautiful rejection on the 200 moving average. We pulled back, consolidating right now. We'll love for it to have a small bounce again, consolidate, and then pull back. And it is still below that print of the dark blue print, which is 21.28. And I am looking for this one to come down to into the 15.62. And then the demand is in the $10 to $11 area. All right, so and that's what we have for now. And I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. Again, if you have any questions, any tickers that you like me to look at, leave below your comments in the comment section, and I'll try to address those in the next video. Please do like and subscribe and share these videos. Thank you.